Everyone, it's Don Cravins Jr. coming to you once again from the National Urban League's Washington Bureau, where I serve as Executive Director with a great team that works behind me. This is your Washington update for this week. And first of all, let me start by saying Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans who are out there. I want to thank all of our millions and millions of men and women who served and who have served. And I also want to thank their wonderful families who allowed them to serve. I'm very, very fortunate and blessed to be a member of the District of Columbia Army National Guard, where I serve as a captain in the Trial Defense Services there. And so every weekend I get a chance to, or every month, once a month, I get a chance to work with thousands of young men and young women and not so young men and young women like myself who give their time and their energy to serve their states as well as their countries. And so to all of the veterans out there and to all the service members, thank you very much for what you do for our country and for our nation and our states. This week in Washington is relatively quiet. The House of Representatives is out of session this week because of the recess, and so they're home working in their districts. But the Senate is in town, and the Senate is really looking at two pieces of legislation, one of which you may hear about for the next couple of weeks. Today, the Senate is going to be voting on the 2016 Defense Authorization Bill, and we expect that to be passed today. But tonight and going forward for the rest of the week, the Senate's also going to be discussing the 2016 Military Construction and Veterans Administrations Bill. Now, that piece of legislation is important for two reasons. One, it deals with military construction and the Veterans Administration, two very important issues for our country. But it's also probably going to serve as a vehicle for other pieces of legislation that will be tied to it before the Congress leaves for the holidays. And so you may hear the term omnibus, and all an omnibus is a much larger bill that gets one vote but has several packages in it. And so the VA and the military construction bill may be that omnibus for other pieces of legislation. So stay tuned and we'll see what else Congress may add to that legislation. One thing we are asking you to pay particular attention to are tax credits, right? Last week I wrote a piece on two very important poverty-ending tax credits. The earned income tax credit as well as the child tax credit. These are two pieces of two tax credits that a lot of African Americans, a lot of Americans, they don't take advantage of. And this is a very simple way to get some of the money you pay in taxes back for you and your family to spend on things that you and your family may need: food, gas, school supplies. And so this week's Washington Update, we're going to take a deeper dive into those two tax credits. And at the end of that, if you believe that these are tax credits we should be making permanent, that Congress needs to make these tax credits permanent, I'm going to ask you to reach out to your congressional delegation and give them a call, shoot them an email, and tell them how you feel about the earned income tax credit as well as the child tax credit. Also, we've got a great piece. We spoke about Veterans Day a little bit earlier. We've got a great piece today in our Washington Update from a veteran who's not only a veteran of the Army and the Navy, but also a civil rights veteran as well. We've got a guest column from Mr. Philip Hunter, and he was one of the original marchers, a foot soldier in the infamous march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama. And so take an opportunity to read that column from our special guest, Mr. Hunter. As I said, not only a veteran of our country's armed services, but also continues to be a civil rights champion as well. I want to say job well done to the men and women, the young men and the young women at the University of Missouri, who this week, as you saw, because of their protests and their rallies and their speaking out against racial injustice, they were able to get some justice at the University of Missouri when the chancellor as well as the president resigned, because the president and the chancellor admitted that they had not been really trying to right the wrongs that were facing the students at the University of Missouri. And so I want to thank those young men and those young women for continuing the fight, continuing the struggle. I think it proves to all of us that our days of racism are not over, that we still have a long way to go. And so I give kudos to them. I want to also give kudos to the young men and young women at Yale University. Even at our Ivy League schools, we see cases of racial injustice, and the young men and young women there, black and white, joining together to fight those injustices. This is something that we're seeing all over the country. We even saw it recently here in Washington at the White House. There was a rally of young men and young women called Our Generation, Our Choice, and that was also to fight some of the racial injustice that is going on in our country. We are living in a very interesting time right now where our young people have had enough, and they are marching and protesting, and we have to be there for them and with them, and let it be an example for all of us that we all in our own way, every day, have to root out injustice and to fight it. I want to give a special shout out to our affiliates. Two affiliates. I'm going to be in South Carolina this week with two of our very special affiliates. I'm going to be there for a Congressional Black Caucus Health Brain Trust, and it's going to be on the Health Equity and Accountability Act, which is a very, very important piece of legislation that we've been talking about. The Urban League is very, very much a part of. The Congressional Black Caucus is very much a part of. I'm going to be there this week in South Carolina on Friday, November 13th, co-sponsoring an event with these two great affiliates, the Charleston Trident Urban League and its president and CEO, Mr. Otha Meadows. Hello, Otha. Thanks for your leadership. As well as the Columbia Urban League and its president and CEO, Mr. JT McLawhorn. Want to say hello to JT as well and thank both of those gentlemen and their teams for their their leadership. We're going to be co-hosting this great Brain Trust event with the Tri Caucus. And so I'm looking forward to being there with them. Thanks you for your hard work, men, and all of your staffs for the hard work. Look forward to seeing you. Last but not least, thank you for watching. Thank you for reading. Thanks for staying in tune with what we're doing here at the Bureau. I know you're watching because I'm getting the phone calls and the praise and some criticisms of what we can do better to make you more informed. I want to spend a special shout out, though, to Miss Kaufman. Ms. Kaufman, I know you're watching. Thank you so much for watching. I get the reports. You're a special lady, and we really appreciate your support as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for what you do in and for the movement. That's my weekly update for this week. I'll see you next week.